Are we live? We are live. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this emergency meeting of the Audit and Risk. As our chair, Bruce, is online, he has asked me if I would chair the meeting, and of course, this is the first time that I've chaired this meeting, so I do ask you to be gentle on me as we go through. I would first of all like to just confirm the members of ARC that are with us. Online, we have Chair Bruce. You're hearing us okay, Bruce?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great.
And independent member Carol. Carol, can you?
Yes, thank you.
And, yeah, that's fine. And then members, we have Mayor Susan, we have Andrew Brown, Lou Brown, Mike Montgomery, and myself are the standard members of the Audit and Risk Committee. All other councillors have actually been invited to join us, and I would like, or I would ask somebody to move for me that those invited members are given speaking rights on this occasion. Thank you, Lou. Do I have a seconder for that?
Second it, Roger.
Susan, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And that's good. So you're most welcome to participate in the discussion. But of course, just a reminder that when we do come to any vote on any matter, then you'll not be given a vote. That's great. So now just, do we have any disclosure of members' interests in this matter? There being none, then we'll proceed. And just to reference that this is an emergency meeting, and given the delays with the audit process and the very tight timeframes that we are working to, this is an emergency meeting to enable us to complete the development and approval of the 2005-2034 long-term plan, and to be able to strike rates for year one of the LTP. And we are asking for guidance from the Audit and Risk Committee to make recommendation on the matters before us to full council. Right, thank you. So I think, George, it's over to you to background the matters before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. So you would have received a report, and what I propose to do is set some context around the report and walk through it at a high level, and after that point open up for discussions and questions. Is that all right?
Yes. Do you wish to do that per matter or to cover all four matters? Which would be better for you?
I think by matter.
By matter?
Councillor Gordon,
thank you.
please. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So if I just put some context around the report, Councillor Gordon has given some references in terms of why we are having an emergency ARC meeting. And so what we're seeking today is ARC to endorse some recommendations through to full council. So the paper in front of you outlines some matters for discussion and staff recommendations for ARC to consider. The timeframes that we're working through for the development of the LTP are at the moment we're working through the audit process. And we've reached a stage through that audit process where we need to take some guidance for us, as Councillor Gordon said, to be able to work through striking rates on the 17th of July for our community. And so that means that we are at a point now where we need to get some clear direction and for ARC to give some guidance to council to meet those timeframes. Underlying all of this is we want to go out to the community with a really robust consultation document that tells a really clear and concise story to our community. So what the recommendations in the paper are around the audit opinion, around the consultation document, and the supporting documentation for the consultation. So that's the premise of the discussion that we want to have with you today. So that's generally the context. Just in terms of a little bit more background information, the report talks about audit opinions, and there is a scale of audit opinions, and they go through from an unmodified audit opinion through a number of steps through to an adverse audit opinion, with opinions in between. So in the report, you will see that staff are making recommendations around trade-offs on particular matters, and where those trade-offs may result in a modified audit opinion on our consultation document. So I just wanted to put that into context too, in terms of we're looking at a spectrum here. So when we go through the report talks about 3 key audit matters that staff are making recommendations on. In addition to that, what I did want to raise within the report, as noted in Resolution D, is that Council is required to adopt an LTP by the 30th of June 2025. In terms of the elongated timeframes, we will be adopting after that date. And we are aiming, as Councillor Gordon said, for a date that allows us to strike rates. So what that will mean is that we will receive a modified opinion on our LTP. So I just wanted to raise that before we get into the more substantive matters. And that is talked about in Resolution D, which Councillor Gordon will walk through those resolutions at the end.
On that matter, George,
Yep.
can I open, does anybody around the table have any questions regarding that matter? No?
Okay, sorry, Roger.
Bruce, I was going to open it to Bruce to see if he would.
No, don't. George, can I just ask, normally where there has been a breach of deadline, all I would reflect is that normally self-disclosure by the council has not given rise to actual mention in the opinion. Is it confirmed that they will actually mention our lateness in their opinion?
We do not have complete confirmation of what they are going to provide, Bruce, but they have indicated there will be a tag of some nature.
Okay, rightio. Thank you.
Yeah.
It doesn't change your recommendation. We should note that regardless. We're going to have to mention it, regardless of whether they do or don't in their opinion. Thanks, George.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to work through each matter. So the first one is the assumption of which we've underpinned our LTP and consultation document is that we've included 3 waters in our consultation document and supporting material for the full 9 years of the LTP. And this is in the context of we are also going through a local waters done well process where council are discussing and will be discussing with the community around options in regards to local waters done well, and council have indicated a preferred option moving to Waikato waters done well from year 2, and we'll be consulting with the community on that. So in regard to audit, what they have indicated, and this has been reinforced through ministerial advice, is that they will be placing a modified opinion on our consultation document because the assumption that is underpinning our LTP, which is around waters remaining in, is not aligned with the preferred option that council has signalled. From a staff perspective, We believe that keeping waters in for the full 9 years is the best option around telling our community our story in a cohesive way, in a very clear story. We also, Council have given direction previously that they did not want to have any predetermination around the consultation with Three Waters. Therefore, we have kept waters in for the full 9 years. So in terms of the recommendation, based upon what I've just said, staff are recommending that waters does remain in our supporting documentation and that we accept a modified audit opinion. Noting that this will be well supported by storytelling and full disclosure around the context and the reasons for that. So that's probably the first one, Councillor Gordon.
Good, thank you, George. And just in confirmation that the status quo that we're talking about is actually continuing water services, the provision of water services within the normal operation of Waipa District Council, and none of the considerable options that we've looked at that become the subject of that consultation. So I'll now open the floor to comments or questions, starting with Councillor Monty.
Thanks, Roger. Look, this is a really easy decision for me. The staff recommendation, I completely agree with. We are having the right conversation with our community by keeping waters in. I don't believe in any way we're misleading anyone. So I understand Audit's technical issue, but yeah, I fully support our course of action and I'm perfectly prepared to take a qualification on the chin in this case.
Thank you. Sorry, Chair Bruce, have you got something you'd like to?
Oh, no, sorry, I hadn't anticipated contributing, but look, suffice to say, I agree with Monty. We are in the position, what I would want to reflect, well, I do have a comment to make about how we tell our story at the end, but I think I'd like to say a couple of words after we've got through the 3 or 4 items that George is going through about what the final opinion might be. Roger, thank you.
Good, thank you. Lou, Councillor Lou.
Thank you very much, through the Chair. I totally concur with Councillor Montgomery on the grounds that I feel that we're going out, must have to put 3 to 4 the waters for the 9 years, simply because we don't know or even understand what configuration we will have with the consultation we're going out with. So I think it's just normal, good practice to follow this and hold the waters until such time that we have some clarity where we're going to end up.
Good. Thank you, Lou. Anybody else? How about the invited council members? Nothing? Online? Mike? Liz? No? Okay. So do you want us to... Sorry?
Liz has given thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up. Oh, good. Thanks, Liz. Right. So I think we're okay on that one. Let's move to the... Do you want a consensus now? Or we'll leave it till the end? Until the recommendations. Good. So issue 2.
All right, so the second matter in the paper is related to development contributions, and this is related to the assumptions on the level of growth that we are predicting and the corresponding revenue that council is forecasted to collect from development contributions. In terms of Waipa's model, our assumption is based on significant increases in growth from year 4 to 9 of the LTP. And in particular, our assumptions are very much based on looking at not just population, but a number of additional factors. And that one of those is really looking at our sub-regional context in terms of, in particular, industrial and commercial growth that Waipa is expected to experience in the later years of the LTP. Audit New Zealand have indicated to us that they believe that our growth and therefore our DC revenue collection that we're forecasting is too high. We have had ongoing conversations with Audit, and as such, we have provided more context and fleshed out our forecasting assumptions in response to their questions. However, we are still in a situation where Audit still believe we are somewhat overinflated. Staff believe that our assumptions are fair and reasonable based on what we know, looking at the sub-regional context. We have also brought in external experts to help us in this process in terms of verifying our modelling. So staff believe that we are being fair and reasonable in that respect. So on that basis, staff are recommending that Council does retain the current growth assumption and the DC revenue that we are forecasting to collect.
Good, thank you, George. And I think one thing that's worthwhile remembering here is that Waipa District is actually still recognised as a Tier 1 growth district within New Zealand, and there's no reason why that growth should not continue. So I open the floor again to comments or to questions. Lou, you wish to?
Not really a question, just simply rather validating exactly what was being said, exactly about being Tier 1. We are a Tier 1 council, and emphasise that as such we live in the Golden Triangle, and we have a huge amount of commercial development that is being projected. Hautapu, Rukahia, all of those, and all the areas around Karapiro. So I would accept, that we proceed with the council recommendation, staff recommendation.
Good, thank you. Any further comment? Mayor Susan.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Look, I just wanted to make the acknowledgement that we will be reviewing this again anyway in 2 years' time. So as much as I do have a level of dis-ease around this because it is, we can't control the future, but I think I do have that level of comfort that because of that review in 2 years' time, we'll have the ability to flex and accommodate the changed climate and the realities of where we find ourselves. So as much as it feels weird, it's actually not as bad as it could be in the knowledge of having that review pending in a couple of years' time. Yeah. So I support the staff recommendation.
Yeah, and just confirming that what Mayor Susan has said, that each year actually, whether it be annual plan or long-term plan, the DCs are reviewed very rigorously, both in their individual component content, but also in general. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge the extra work that had been put in by staff here to get that extra expert evidence to support your stance, because they are big numbers. And as mentioned by others, it is risky. We can't predict the future. And I do take comfort as well by the fact that it will be reviewed. But apparently with auditors, they're looking at that 9-year period. No, really appreciate that. I guess, more data or more research has been sought to make sure that we've got a really good basis for our modelling. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Claire. Right, and over to those on screen. Just give me a hand up if you want to make a comment. Yes, Bruce.
Look, I just want to reflect on this. We don't know yet the position that the auditor will take. I wonder if I could just, while we might want to question process and the time it's taken, this is one good area where we can reflect we have been tested by an external party. And at this stage, our work suggests that we have got a reasonable and supportable position, even if it has a level of certainty, which is, it sounds oxymoronic, but it's less certain. So I think actually this is actually quite a strong story for us. We have been tested. We've found appropriate evidence, and I think Tony has outlined a number of ways in which we've looked at the growth, both residential and non-residential, to come up with a number which, while it has a level of uncertainty, has now got extra and additional rigour through it. That's the benefit of actually having a third party test us. So, Roger, I'm comfortable with the position we've reached.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Anybody else? No? Right. Thank you, George. Over to the third recommendation.
Thank you. So the third matter for discussion is around our depreciation levels. And to put this into context, our asset base is moving from 2.7 billion to 4 billion in year 9. So that represents a very significant asset base. So any small changes in regards to how we approach the valuations, etc., can have, can have a significant impact. So just to put that into context. So what this matter is about is Audit have raised questions and challenged us in terms of our approach to indexing our depreciation by inflation. And over time, we've now reached a position where we believe that Audit are giving us a recommendation in terms of how we approach this that is actually fair and reasonable when we look at the environment that we're working in, and we also look at what the intent of depreciation is in terms of funding the renewals of our future assets. So what staff are recommending here is that we adopt what Audit New Zealand are advising us on, and that we do make some changes to our depreciation rates. What that does mean is in that years 4 and 5, there are higher rates than what we have discussed previously. So in year 4, it goes from 2.8 to 6.5. In year 5, it goes from 2.8 to 4.5. However, I would reinforce there are no changes to the rates that we have previously discussed in years 1 to 3. So that probably sums it up. So staff are recommending that we do make changes here, and that will mean that we do not receive a modified audit opinion.
Good. Thank you, George. And just confirming that again, in the matter of depreciation, we have another long-term plan that in fact will commence in 2 years' time, when there will be considerable review again of our asset base. And in those 2 years, there could be some change to the asset ownership that could actually split the assets out into the CCO and continue with Waipa District Council. So opening it up has, yes, who have we got first? Monty, and then Andrew, and then Bruce, and then Lou. No? Okay.
Thanks, Roger. Very happy with the staff recommendation here, and I welcome Audit's work on this. As a governor of this organisation, it's really hard to interrogate the asset schedule and the depreciation rates applied, given the complexity of the asset schedule and the complexity of the depreciation rates. So, yeah, the level of interrogation that Audit have put over this, I actually welcome and perfectly happy with the outcome.
Good, thank you. Andrew.
Yes, thanks, Roger. You've just said exactly what I would have said, so that's perfect. And as in the previous matter, yeah, Audit's asked the questions, and that's what their job is. And
good. Thank you, Lou. No, sorry.
I think everybody said exactly what I would have said.
All right, Bruce.
Thank you. And looking again, I reflect and reiterate the comments made. I would just note it's been an important discussion around our financial strategy as well, which is that we are adopting an unbalanced budget for the first 3 years. I'm just cognizant that when it comes to council, they will need to ensure they pass a resolution as to why they think years 1 to 3 are financially prudent, given it's unbalanced.
James.
Councillors, I just wanted to point out on page 4, just a point of correction, the beginning year asset balance is 2.4, not 2.7. And I think that's reflective of how close to the wire we've cut this in terms of working on where we are. So that's just, I wanted to clarify that point while we're in this meeting.
Okay. Anybody online that would like to make a comment? Yes, Mike.
Oh, thanks, through the chair, Roger. Yeah, hey, I think Audit, they've got the spot on too. And I guess what it does is for ratepayers of Waipa, there shouldn't be any surprises down the track because Audit have come up with what the depreciation schedule should be, as best they can. And obviously, you know, that depreciation rate will shift as assets, you know, any new assets come online that over the next 9 years that come onto the long-term plan that aren't there now. So I guess ratepayers just have to be a little bit aware of that, but it does give some accuracy. So I'm really comfortable with that. Thank you all.
Good, thank you. Any further comment? Right, just before we go to the recommendations, I think we've got a reasonable consensus around the table. But Bruce, you wish to make some comment on the story that we tell regarding this.
Look, I've had a prior discussion with Melissa and George, and I'm grateful they've shared with me your CD. I think it would be important to recognise in this meeting publicly, Roger, a couple of comments that I've heard, and I think probably led by you, Susan, which is that we want to have a proper discussion with the community. And indeed, I think the decisions that we are making are ones that are framed within that context that we want to have a proper discussion. The challenge, of course, is that we are recognising that if we adopt these resolutions, at least on one count, we are going to receive a qualification. And the chances are it is towards the adverse end of the scale. So it does mean that if we didn't in any way look at effective description of what is occurring, we would have our CD and we would have an opinion that is probably contrary to engaging with the CD as expressed by our auditor. So we need to reconcile that for our auditor. So I just think we need to reflect that in making this or in adopting these resolutions, we've still got a bit of work to do to work with actually on behalf of you folk that will be leading the charge over consultation, but also with staff, that we can clearly tell the community why this is a good document and why they can still engage with it, notwithstanding the auditor's probable adverse opinion.
Good, thank you. George, would you like to add to Chair Bruce's comment?
No, I don't want to add to Bruce's comment. I thought he summed that up really well. I did just want to, before you did move on to the resolutions, Councillor Gordon, was just outline what the next steps would be. Yep. So what we are working towards at the moment is making recommendations to full council, and then full council would adopt those recommendations as part of adopting the consultation document. So we would look to be doing that somewhere in the first sort of part of May. So I just wanted to advise what the next steps would be before you move on.
Good. So just confirming that the consultation document will be before council during the first week, approximately, of May.
Can't confirm the exact date,
no,
but there's roughly the time frame
May.
we're working to.
Good. Thank you. Now, I'm not hearing any contradictory comments to the recommendations. Are there any members around the table that would like to make comment before we put the recommendations?
I would, if that's okay.
You would? Certainly.
Yeah. Thank you. I just like to note a couple of things. One is I'd like to note the workload of the team and the ongoing the relationship with Audit New Zealand. We find ourselves in a really unique situation, particularly for Waipa, but I want to acknowledge the continued positive relationship with Audit New Zealand through really tough conversations a lot of information going backwards and forwards. We've commissioned more information on DCs, for example, our growth rates. So I just would like to acknowledge our team who have worked in a really respectful and professional manner all through this really challenging process. And I would like to acknowledge you as elected members, because I know that we find ourselves in really particular and unique contextual circumstances. Waipa has a great record in terms of LTPs and moving through in an unqualified manner. And I would just like to state for the record that even if we receive a modified opinion in some shape or form, we are not alone. So OAG, the Office of the Auditor General, has reported back to Local Government New Zealand on the number of councils who have received qualified opinions in some shape or form over the last couple of years. And it has been a growing number, and that is largely due to the incredibly complex and complicated context that local government is working in, and the levels of uncertainty, which usually attract emphasis of matter around a whole range of issues. So I just want to acknowledge that. I know that this is really new ground for Waipa District Council, but I am really heartened by the way that our team have worked through the issues and taken strong direction from our project governance group. And I'd like to acknowledge Bruce as chair of our Audit and Risk Committee, and the extraordinary work and leadership and support that he provides to us to navigate our way through these complex challenges. And to Carol, you as our other independent on audit and risk, I know this has been a baptism of fire in some ways, but we really appreciate your support and continued engagement as well. So thank you. And I know onwards and upwards, I would also like to reiterate that every year we do a review through our annual plan process. We will be doing another LTP in 2 years' time because of the delays to this one, and we will get the chance to reset, but also knowing we're going through one of the most uncertain but also most significant transitions in local government, potentially in the next year, with Water's transition, the biggest since the formation of local government. And I believe that the principles of transparency, robustness, having the independent audit, but having a strong conversation with our community are foundations that underpin some really important parts of us as the public service locally. So I just want to thank everybody and acknowledge people. It's a journey. Thank you, Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Steph. And I think you raised a very good point there of the number of other councils. And I think, Chair Bruce, you've got some stats there, which I think is worthwhile, perhaps putting through this public meeting. You said there were 58 councils last year that went through the LTP process, and there were would you like to give us the background on those stats that you've got?
Thank you for giving me the credit, but actually it was George that had the stats, Roger. So could I just refer to George? He has the good oil.
I've got it if you want.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Susan.
I forwarded it to Georgia. It was information that's provided by the AG during our recent all of sector meeting in Wellington. So they audited 58 LTPs. Of the opinions, 2 were adverse, 12 qualified audit opinions, 28 unmodified, but with emphasis of matter paragraphs, and 16 unmodified. So I think according to our earlier calculations, it was, in a nutshell, 72% of the LTPs in 2024 to 34 received an emphasis, qualification, or adverse.
Good.
So quite a
Thanks, Mayor
sway.
Susan.
And they reported that the key areas of uncertainty were around central government funding, a delivery of capital programs, forecast cost savings, condition of assets, and deferring of 3 water asset renewals. So all things that probably don't sound particularly strange to us, but it is not an uncommon landscape that we're finding ourselves in.
Good. Thank you for that, Mayor Susan. I'd just like to also endorse all the staff's incredible contribution in this. And I know as Deputy Chair of the committee, and the little conversations we've had over Zoom and telephone have been endless and quite detailed and frustrating at times. So thank you really very much for your contributions. Good. So I don't see any contention in the recommendation, so I'll put the recommendation in bulk rather than splitting it down to the components. So allow me, if you will, to read it out. That the Audit and Risk Committee receives the report of Melissa Russo, Manager of Strategy, titled 2025 to 34 Long-Term Plan Development, document number 114-11864. B, notes that Audit New Zealand have commenced an audit of Council's draft 2025-34 consultation document and supporting documents, LTP documentation, and in doing so have identified 3 elements within the current documentation that may lead to a modified audit opinion. C, for the reasons set out in the report, recommends to Council to retain water services for the 9 years covered by the 2025-34 LTP, noting that this will lead to a modified opinion from Audit New Zealand on that matter. 2, retain the current growth assumptions, including those for development contributions revenue in the LTP documentation, noting that this will likely result in a modified opinion from Audit New Zealand on that matter. And 3, amend the approach in the LTP documentation for calculating depreciation to match Audit New Zealand's inflation-adjusted method on total assets, noting that this approach will not lead to a qualified or modified opinion from Audit New Zealand on that matter. D, notes that Council will receive a modified opinion on the basis of not adopting the 2025-34 LTP before the legislated date of 30th of June 2025. Do I have a mover for that?
I'm willing to
I'm
move
happy
that.
to move that, Mike. Sorry, Roger.
I've got an argument here.
Bruce can move it.
Nah,
I'm happy.
I given.
Thank you. Bruce, as chair, you will allow you. So moved by Bruce and seconded by Mayor Susan. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon.
Right. That brings us to the end of this. And now we invite Councillor Morgan, if she would, to provide us with a closing karakia.
Tēnā koe. I te tūru o tēnei committee I tēnei rā, tēnā koe Councillor Roger. Ko mutu o mātou mahi I tēnei wā I tēnei rā, he uaua o tātou mahi I tēnei rangi. Manakitia mai mātou katoa o mātou hua, o mātou whānau I runga I te ipurangi, ki Kōtirangi, ki Amerika hoki, o mātou whānau, ai o ki te aorangi, hui e, tai ki e. Tēnā tātou, tēnā koe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody online.